All right, so last week we were talking about a little bit of the problem that is involved with placing the backup sensors. So one of the channel viewers, Phoenix Black, made a suggestion to maybe put a faux um, air diffuser on the bottom of the bumper, and that would create an opportunity for me to mount the backup sensors instead of up in the middle of the bumper here, somewhere's down in this area here. This is what I came up with as far as a mock-up is concerned. It's hard to see. You see I've got the fins going here, but there's also a little bit of a flat area right here. So I have another sensor that would be mounted right in that area right there, and then also here. So two on either side. But it's not my decision as to whether we go this direction, so right now it's up for discussion. So we'll find out where we land on that. Okay, back in the day when I used to work in big-time stock car racing, when we had to run that hideous experiment called the COT, the car tomorrow, the sides were pretty featureless from between the wheel openings, front and rear. In other words, the sides were they were dead flat, except for, of course, where it rounded over at the top. But NASCAR wanted those things to where they could check them with a straight edge and there not be even an eighth of an inch deviation. So you get this big old piece of 023 sheet metal you're trying to keep flat. So what we ended up doing was we bought this stuff. It's a fiberglass honeycomb board. It's fiberglass on top and bottom, and then it's just paper in between. So it's pretty strong and it keeps things pretty flat. And after we would cut out what we need for the sides, the rest would go in the dumpster. So I used to do a little bit of dumpster diving, got quite a bit of the cutoffs and brought them home, and I've been using them up ever since. At any rate, the reason I went through all that is to tell you is that two areas here where I want to make sure that this doesn't reverse and it has a little bit of more durability if you would have hit it with your hand or anything like that, because it's 035 sheet metal and I've crowned it, but you could still, if you hit it with enough force, you could pucker it in. Same here with this license plate area, and of course on the other side here. So what I did was I cut some of this board out and I glued it in. I've got these blocks just holding it until it all dries up. So that'll give it a little bit more rigidity on the face side there with this backer board inserted in here. Anyway, just thought I'd show you that. All right, might seem like I'm getting ahead of myself, but you got to start thinking about stuff like this because of mounting points and other things that have to go under the quarter panel. The wing is about 100 pounds. The actual wing, it's cast aluminum. You can see it over here. Pretty nice piece. Needs to be body worked, but nonetheless, that's a pretty substantial piece. So I just went ahead and made up a sheet metal profile here, which is a mock-up to see what kind of issues a Superbird wing on a Daytona presents. First of all, it's got a huge overhang. That kind of looks a little goofy right off the bat. The Superbird has a flattish, I should say, quarter panel. So this is way farther forward on that quarter panel on the Superbird. So being this has an uphill slope like this, it tilts the whole wing back. I've already went ahead and trimmed off the top of here just because that was pretty obvious it wasn't going to work. That wasn't good. It's because the wing was heading uphill. The other thing is obvious here is a full-size wing would protrude into the gas hole area. So you'd have to either give that up or move it to another location, which might not look that good moving this forward. So what I'd proposed from the beginning and what we're going to take a look at is I'm going to mock up is a shorter version of the wing, which is probably going to be around this tall. And what I'll do is instead of cutting the top off, which creates problems, in other words, you try to cut the top off, then it becomes too wide to accommodate the wing attachment point as it rolls over the top. So it's better to keep keep that all intact up top and make your changes at the base here. So with that in mind, I'm going to trim this off and to where I kind of figured out I wanted to put it, and what it'll do is hopefully it'll reduce the size of the base right off the bat, so we don't have to fool with the gas hole. It'll tilt the wing forward, which will correct the angle of the wing at the top on the stock wing, and hopefully it'll, if you want to put a Daytona stripe on here right now, you can see this thing would be huge. It would practically cover the whole quarter panel to take up the base because it's so much bigger than a Daytona wing. So I'm gonna just create a little mock-up of that and see how that looks. Reduce the overhang, make the correction at the bottom, tilt it forward just a little bit to flatten out the top, and then narrow up the base. Okay, so I've made a couple of adjustments here. You can see that I cut this wing off here and dropped it lower. I think it's about 2.5 inches, 3 inches, somewhere in that neighborhood. I kind of was trimming as I went, so that I corrected the angle of the wing to where it's leaning a little bit farther forward in order to correct the top of the wing to get it to set level. It's lower, it's leaning forward a little bit more, but by cutting the wing off shorter, it necessarily makes the base shorter, which that works well for the gas hole, and it also works well for the beginning of this little flip at the end of the quarter panel. So yeah, it doesn't look like I did very much, but I'll show you what the original shape of the wing looks like here. Just set this up here, and you can see it's quite a bit different. You can see the angle. It's kicked back a whole lot more. It's a whole lot higher. And this is this has been trimmed off to level this off. So this normally would be up here coming downhill like that. So all of that's been corrected, and so the next thing is going to be somewhere along the line here to actually do it to the real wing. And but I think that that is a nice average between what would normally be a very upright wing on a Daytona and a pitched back wing, which is on the Superbird. I think that achieves what we're looking for here. It also brings the height of the wing down so that it's not towering over the back of the car. Well, I was just mocking up that wing to see where we needed to go and who I had to line up to weld that back together once I do cut the actual wing apart. Got that kind of out of the way, which is nice. But I hate skipping around. I would like to start on this window plug next, but unfortunately I am still waiting for the rear glass. We're going to put in this thing, so looks like we're going to get involved with trying to put this mess, engineer this mess into that door. So anyway, first thing I got to do is I got to dismount these doors. Well, I'm going to just start with this driver's side door, take that glass out and all that stuff, and then I'm going to have to de-skin this door. Some rust holes here that weren't taken care of, and they're real close to all of the rims. I might be able to salvage these skins. Don't know if I will be able to or not, but either way, it's got to come off because the way I have to engineer this, it's better to do it just with the inner door shell than to have the whole door shell together like this with the skin. So I'm going to take this off and start working on it. All right, with the door off the car and the hinges taken off, I've got it sitting in a cradle. Try and minimize any damage to the outside. It takes the shape of the outer part of the door. And then I've drilled out, there's some spot welds you got to find on the edge here. And then I modified an old cat's paw I had, kind of give it a little bit of a chisel rake right here. And I was able to just roll up underneath of this edge right here to loosen this all up. And I'll take a pair of flats and kind of just once I could get inside there, got in there and just slowly pull this whole edge up right over here, trying to minimize the damage to it. Over here, where there's not really any place to bear up against that with those, I'm just taking these and I'm just going along here and grabbing that just a little at a time to try and lift it just enough to where I can get the other pliers under there and pick that all up. Anyway, that's what I'm doing, trying to save this skin. We'll see how it looks on the inside when I get it off. Alright, so I got the inner door separated from the outer skin, and this is what I consider to be a really decent set of doors. Everything looks pretty good for the most part, but this is something that, unless you delaminate the skin, the outer skin, these are areas that you're never going to address. I mean, well, it's not like this car would have ever been on a salty road throughout the winter as a daily driver. So this is an accumulation of over 50 years worth of rust. So not likely. It's pretty thick here. It's not likely that this would have rusted through, but if you're real particular about making sure that all of this substructure is clean, then you got to delaminate it and fix all that up, clean it out, treat it, put it back together at the very least. Now, I have taken it apart for other reasons, but just wanted to show you this is an example of a really good set of doors, really solid for the most part, and still we have some pretty crusty areas in here. Anyway, thought I'd show you that while I had it apart. Alright, so that's the outer skin on that door. I went ahead and wire brushed it pretty good with a pneumatic wire brush pretty aggressively to get any of the loose stuff off, clean it up, and then I've gone ahead and hit it with this is called OSFO. It's phosphoric acid, and basically it converts the rust, stabilizes it before you paint over it. So I've also done the same thing. I just got done coating this, brushing on the OSFO on the inner door. The very, very good door on this side anyway. I have a feeling that the other side is going to be a little bit more chewy, as they say, just from some holes that are on the outside skin. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's just the outside skin on that door, and then which I can patch those and fix those. Then we won't have to get new skins. We can use the originals. One of the things that I've remarked about before is while the new sheet metal is really cool to have, it doesn't hold a candle to this old stuff. This old stuff is almost like white metal. You almost can't beat it out. If it gets a dent in it, it's so tough. I replaced the door skins on my car because they were really just gone when I built that car. And when I was polishing out the paint on the roof, just leaning against the car gently, put a couple dents in the door skin. So that was, it took me a while to work those dents out from the inside of the door with a dolly wrapped in a rag and just slowly smoothing them back out. But that's awful delicate stuff there compared to this stuff. So whenever you can use original sheet metal, I say do it. At any rate, I've got to do the same thing to the other door, peel it back, and see what's going on. Okay, so this door panel is a little bit more unfortunate than the last one. Somewhere along the line, I don't know who, but you can see there's some rust holes that haven't been addressed here in the skin, but somebody went ahead and put a patch in here. They also put a patch in over here. The unfortunate part about this is now I have to cut this little L shape out of here. I'd want to replace this patch anyway because this is pretty banged up over here. but they actually welded it. When they welded this patch on, they necessarily welded it to the inner structure of the door, so I can't get the skin free without cutting this little bit of metal out that's been continuously welded here. It has a little bit of a crease going down here also. Hopefully I can dolly that out. Yeah, this one's not as nice as that other one, but we're gonna see if we can't fix it up. Anyway, that's that one. Okay, managed to get the skin free, as you can see, by welding this patch on here without removing the skin to do this rust repair that was in the corner. You can see this was all, they just spotted it here because there was probably lots of pinholes in here. So it was a double deal where they were welding from the back side and welding on the skin on the front side. Anyway, what that ends up doing is it welds the skin directly to this surface here. Alright, so one more thing to clean up. Okay, this week hasn't been too terribly productive. I've had a couple of days that I haven't been able to put in full days, some personal business to take care of. Anyway, long and short of it, I managed to get this wire brush, clean all the surface rust out, wipe it down, hit it with OSPO, which is phosphoric acid, to convert the rust. And now it's been primed with some self-etching primer, so I can keep it from developing any surface rust again. I still have to do a little bit of cleanup on this the skin that goes on there, but that's a pretty nice skin, and I'm pretty happy with that skin. This door was a little rougher. This is the passenger side. I still have to go about wire brushing this and cleaning it up and going through the same stages. The skin on this one was a little bit rougher. It had some previous repairs done. It came off of a copper colored car. The other door was off of a green colored car. So I don't know if they're original doors to this car or whether this car had been repaired a long time ago and ended up with this oddball door on it. But anyway, there was problems here, as you recall. So I was able, there was some creases and lots of low impact dents all along this shell. I was able to use this planishing hammer to clean up some of that stuff and get it averaged out, and then I'll have to repatch these corners a little bit better than what they did on the previous repair. Now I just want to give a shout out to a fella in Georgia that does a lot of reskinning on these Dodge Daytonas, and the original ones I'm talking about, and Superbirds, and just about any other kind of Mopar that you'd want. It's a real professional job. It's Jim Davis, Vintage Metalworks at Commerce, Georgia, and he was kind enough to bring me a replica Daytona glass that he had in stock for me to work with to build the window plug. We're currently working on getting a Florida outfit to run us 5 pieces of this glass with a brand new mold, because this mold has been lost to time. This was produced by AMD back in, I guess, 2015 or around then. Jim had provided the sample glass for that project, and he's also supplying the sample glass to create a mold. So there'll be a source for these glasses from here on out, I hope, for anybody who's in the hobby who might need one. But anyway, while that's being done, he was kind enough to drive up from Commerce, Georgia, and here to North Carolina, and bring me this piece of glass today, so that I don't have to slow down the process of building out this rear window plug. Again, thanks to Jim for that, and thanks to everybody who's watched so far on this series. And even though I haven't got a lot done this week, hopefully next week I'll get a little bit more, and I'll see you on the next one.